Hi, everyone. I'm Liff, the Chief Development Officer for the American Occupational Therapy Foundation. I'm so glad to be speaking with you today about AOTF, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about our mission and how our unique role in the OT profession is vital to improving evidence-based practice and strengthening our practice. We offer so much to OT researchers, clinicians, and students, and I'm really excited to let you know how you can join us in our mission. So let's get started. For over 55 years, we have been the nation's leading nonprofit investing in new OT research and the OT workforce. We are a standalone organization. We were created by AOTA in 1965 to be a separate and unique organization, where we have our own leadership, our own board of trustees, our own budget, and our own mission. Where AOTA is the profession's membership organization focused on issues around advocacy and education, policymaking, and accreditation, we are the philanthropic and research arm of the foundation, focused on building new research and supporting the future pipeline of OT professionals. Now, it's important to know what each organization does because we do have our own unique mission, and we are both reliant on members or donors to support us in that mission. And we work closely with AOTA, but we want everyone to know how we are different and unique and why we're both vital to our profession. Our mission is to advance the science of occupational therapy to support people's full participation in meaningful life activities. Our vision is to build a vibrant science where all people, regardless of age or ability, can participate in the activities of their choosing that give their lives meaning. And to accomplish this, we have four main objectives: to build new evidence through research, to bolster the OT workforce, to generate, translate, and disseminate research knowledge to the profession and to the public, and to build new partnerships. The first thing that I'm going to talk to you today about is our research grant portfolio. Research is where we spend most of our time and our money and our effort, and as I mentioned, it is the crux of our unique mission for the profession. We have 3 different research grants currently in our portfolio and something called the Planning Grant Collective. So let's begin with the Intervention Research Grant, or the IRG. The IRG was created in 2013 after a review by our board of trustees and volunteers. Past grant winners took a look at the current landscape of OT needs. And what they found was that there was a critical gap that existed for OT researchers to obtain early stage research funding. In addition, there weren't a lot of opportunities for younger OTs to be principal investigators on research themselves, especially when there were new and novel ideas. Now, while the National Institutes of Health and other government agencies, as well as large foundations, were providing some funding for OT research, we found that we're really looking for more established research projects and more seasoned researchers. The opportunity for people to build evidence for new and novel ideas, or even to be part of a pilot program, were few and far between. And when OTs were applying for these grants, they were competing against a host of other healthcare professionals as well. So we developed the IRG to really fill in this gap. And we have 6 main objectives for this program: to enhance OT contributions for pressing needs, to focus on the important issues for OTs as well as clients, families, practitioners, and policymakers, to cultivate interdisciplinary research teams, to look at issues especially around underserved and diverse populations in research, and to mentor new researchers. One of the key components of the IRG grant is that the principal investigators have a research mentor. So we really feel that needs to be a focus on building new evidence for practice, but also building the strength of our research community. Since 2013, we have funded 40 studies and awarded over $2 million for OT research. And we feel this program has been a success by a number of metrics. First, you see our follow-on funding has exceeded 10 times our initial investment in just 8 years, which is great. It means that the projects that we are funding are being recognized as being needed for future studies. We see that 93% of our grants have gone on to receive federal funding. So again, when you apply to NIH or other federal agencies that maybe weren't interested in that seed funding, but once you show through your pilot data and proof of concept that your product has validity, they are very interested in making sure that there is follow-on funding for larger scale studies. We also see that a majority of our awards are going to younger investigators, either less than 10 years after their doctoral degree or under the age of 40. We feel, again, this is important that we are investing both in early stage research and also early career researchers. And half of our studies are published in non-OT journals, giving a rise to visibility of OT research in other disciplines, showing that our research is multidisciplinary and making sure that OTs get seats at the table when it comes to other healthcare practices, seeing OT as evidence-based practice. This slide shows the topics that we have funded through our IRG. It's almost 24 different topics. And we know how important it is to have diversity in topics because there's such a broad range of important priorities for OT across the country and across the world. And we've been fortunate that there have been so many great scientists working in these different areas who have submitted strong proposals that we've been able to fund. Each of the grants that we fund is a one-year study at $50,000. And that means the total funding that we've done each year has been $250,000. And that amount of money is entirely made up of philanthropic gifts given by a community of donors. We're so happy to have OT scientists, practitioners, people who care about OT, and a number of partners make these kind of gifts so that we can build and sustain this important research program. This slide is a list of our publications, and as I mentioned, over half of our studies are published in non-OT journals. So you can see in the gold rectangle where the majority of our studies are published in journals like AJOT and OTJR, as well as a number of other ones in more specified disciplines for other journals that are both published in the US and around the world. Building on the success of our intervention research grant program, we created a second research grant program called Health Services Research Grant. This program was created through a gift by NBCOT, and it really examines how people get access to healthcare, how that care is delivered, the cost of that care, and what happens to patients as a result of receiving or not receiving care, all through an OT lens. Now, specifically, health services research is a multidisciplinary field that studies how social factors, financing systems, organizational structures, technologies, and personal behaviors all affect access to care, quality of care, and ultimately the health and well-being of healthcare consumers. There is no other organization out there funding OT-specific health services research like AOTF. Now, this kind of grant has a very high value to both individuals and societies. Past research in this area has yielded information on intervention trends, risk factors, outcomes of treatment, and patterns of care. It's led to the development of new healthcare policies and the development of new therapies. It is our most multidisciplinary research program, and we're really excited that this program, which was initially funded for 3 years, starting in 2019, has just been renewed for another 3 years by NBCOT. As you can see, we have a number of topics that we've covered through the first 3 years of study, and we're hoping to double this list as we continue this grant program through 2024. We're so grateful to NBCOT as a partner in this, and we know that this research is going to yield some important results for our profession and ultimately for the delivery of care. Our third program that we created also through a gift from NBCOT in 2019 is called Implementation Research Grants. As many of you know, it takes 17 years for new healthcare evidence to be adopted into widespread practice. And this delay in getting evidence into practice means a decrease in the quality of care and an increase in cost. So we're looking at how we can improve the movement of new evidence into practice with all through, again, an OT lens. In this grant program particularly, we're looking at grants that examine racial, social, and health inequities and injustices so we can promote social justice. We're also looking at grant applications from underrepresented populations, either as the subject of the study or from PIs who represent those underrepresented groups. This is a list of our IR topics. And again, we've just been able to do 2 years so far. 2022 is our 3rd year of the program. We're hoping that we will get another gift to extend this for another 3 years, because in the first 3 years, we have not yet made the impact yet on decreasing that 17-year timeline. But we're hoping that with the continuation of these grants, we will be able to examine even more areas in need. Now, those 3 grants programs I talked about are all about soliciting grant ideas from OT researchers and reviewing the letters and applications to find the best science projects out there that can be funded for either 1 or 2 year studies. But in 2017, we created the Planning Grant Collective to be a more proactive way for AOTF to be involved in the development of new research grants. We knew that there would be an opportunity for AOTF to bring together OT researchers as well as other healthcare specialists and stakeholders to really discuss important topics, examine the landscape that exists of current research, find where the gaps existed, and then build new teams that could include stakeholder voices and perspectives to really develop stronger research proposals that could then be applied for funding either at AOTF or with other organizations. We've held 4 PGCs so far on the topics of mental illness, cancer survivorship, aging in place, and telehealth. We're hoping to do some future PGCs on topics of fatigue, spinal cord injury and paralysis, and COVID. So stay tuned to see which of these happen in the next few years. We're really excited the fact that this PGC is not just a proactive way for us to generate new research proposals, but as I mentioned, really give OTs a unique experience where they can engage with other healthcare specialists and stakeholders to get their voices and perspectives heard, to build the best grant proposals that will have the most impact on quality care. Now, the reason that we are so focused on research is because the impact that evidence can have for practice. We know that evidence-based practice has transformed occupational therapy over the last 20 years. And hopefully, as we grow our grant programs and grow our community of support, we'll be able to have far-reaching effects for the next 100 years of OT. We know that more evidence in key areas means better delivery of care, but also demonstrating that OT meets the criteria for evidence-based practice. We've seen from our IRG program in particular that is helping the career advancement of OT scientists. We are also building collaborations with other specialists, raising the visibility of OT amongst other healthcare providers, and formulating partnerships with other organizations. One of the partnerships that we're very proud about is a partnership with the Michael J. Fox Foundation. Together, we are jointly funding a study on OT and Parkinson's that's happening right now. We're hopeful that we can find and build other partnerships with other organizations that also have a research mission, that are involved with work that involves OT, or has an OT audience that can benefit from OT evidence. Now, I would like to share a video from one of our volunteers, Roger Adishi.
Hello, my fellow OTs. My name is Roger Adishi. I'm the Program Director of Occupational Therapy and a Professor of Health, Human Function, and Rehabilitation Sciences at the George Washington University School of Medicine and Health Sciences in Washington, D.C. The American Occupational Therapy Foundation asked me to talk to you about research, my research journey as someone without a traditional research degree, and my role with AOTF. As you've heard, AOTF is committed to advancing the science of occupational therapy. Without the science, without the research, our profession will not grow. Without growth, we won't be relevant. Without relevance, we won't have influence in impacting healthcare, education, and social systems and policies where occupational therapy practitioners support and foster human flourishing for a meaningful and productive life. I think one of the misperceptions the everyday practitioner has about research is that it's for the academics and faculty at universities. Research is for all of us. I'm sure you do research every day in your daily practice that contributes to advancing occupational therapy. I'm going to talk about my journey so you can see each of us has a role. I was a young faculty, but still doing clinical work and partnering with teachers and other occupational, physical, and speech therapists at a school in North Philadelphia. I'd say we were relatively successful in achieving IEP goals. We should be, shouldn't we? But during parent meetings, parents were still expressing challenges with home and community activities. There were many layers and struggles through all of this. But eventually, as an intervention team, we developed integrated community-based opportunities for families. So there were formal and informal opportunities for the student and the families to use, explore, and adapt the strategies in context other than the classroom. We asked parents and kids what they wanted to do. We partnered with community organizations based on parent and kids' interests, like going to the grocery store, the zoo, the aquarium, a garden center, a mosaic art center, the fire department, a yoga studio, as examples of the diversity of partners. Over time, arts organizations became a dominant partner. Now I have another clinical story from the early 2000s. I'm going to use the pseudonym Javier for this student. Javier had a motor apraxia. Our partnership with the Philadelphia Ballet brought a well-known principal dancer who trained with the famous dancer Jerome Robbins to teach the kids creative movement every week at the school for an entire semester. For Javier, we often prompted his legs or arms with physical cues. We could see him concentrating so hard so he could create the movements, but it was a challenge for him. The approach we developed was a classroom and a community-based experience. The community experiences involved going to see their teacher dance on stage at a historic and beautiful performance hall in Philadelphia. Before the performance began, his teacher came to say hello to Javier and all the students. All the students' attentions were held in suspension with anticipatory and intentional waiting to see their teacher step out on stage, even students who had very short attention spans. Javier always had good attention, but when his teacher stepped onto the stage, he stood up from his chair and started to self-initiate and copy the movements of his teacher as she was dancing on the stage. All the adults, teachers and therapists, turned our heads from the stage and watched Javier for the next 3 or 4 minutes as he was initiating and copying movement without any prompts. I could see one of the teacher's eyes well up with tears, and I saw a therapist's jaw literally drop as they watched Javier. The context, the meaning, the experience configuration is what Javier needed. Not teachers and therapists stressing him out in the classroom, encouraging him and physically prompting him to move. We were not providing the best environment. The best activity configuration for Javier's learning was in context with his dance teacher in the community. We didn't consider other environments, other activity configurations. We were not placing meaningful learning in community contexts where he experiences them or will experience them for the rest of his life. We learned a lot that day. Our observations led to taking a more systematic approach to how we were configuring activities, configuring the environment, and not just considering the immediate factors, but the real life occupational performance in a variety of contexts, in and out of the classroom and in and out of the community. We began partnering with public health and physical therapy researchers to examine the various factors and elements we thought were making a difference. We used qualitative and quantitative methods to examine our questions. Over the course of 10 years, this researcher practitioner partnership produced 10 grants totaling over $60,000 for program development and evaluation. It may not sound like much, but the researchers weren't the ones writing the grants. It was the practitioners. The practitioners were writing the grants based on the systematic pilot and case data they collected from their naturally occurring intervention planning and documentation. These practitioners, along with the researchers, jointly produced 7 publications. This work honed the practitioners' clinical and measurement skills. Around 2008, the Smithsonian Institution and the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. were making inquiries with arts organizations around the country about who was doing program development and evaluation with neurodiverse communities engaged in public arts. They found 2 particular spots that seemed to be generating a lot of work. Philadelphia, where I was at the time, based on the work we were doing, as I just described, and with the Boston museums. And coincidentally, both the Philadelphia and Boston work were in collaboration with OTs. This led a team from Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and Boston to generate the Kennedy Center Manual Guide for Engaging Neurodiverse Persons in the Arts, which is used not just around the country, but around the world. The Kennedy Center convened a special summit to examine community participation and the arts with the disabled community, with arts leaders, and 3 OT researchers. Myself, Dr. Rochelle Mendonça of Columbia University, and Dr. Tracy Jericho of the University of Washington in Seattle. There were also 6 OT students who served as data recorders at this summit. Ever since then, Dr. Jericho and I have pursued methods and evaluation of community participation along with Dr. Roxana Ben-Dixon from the University of Pittsburgh and Dr. Tio Benavides from Augusta University. Also on our primary research team are disabled individuals who guide and mentor us in ensuring we are engaging in meaningful and relevant discussions and research questions, as well as engaging with us in our literature reviews, data analyses, policy development, writing, and so many other things. These disabled individuals are reasonably paid to be primary team members. Our work has led to building a national network of disabled individuals, organizational and community partners from Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., Georgia, Minnesota, New Mexico, Colorado, and Washington State to develop stronger relationships and understanding between the disabled user to guide and mentor practitioners and researchers in relevant work that fosters their ability to be engaged members of research and in their communities. My story is relevant for practitioners and those with the clinical OTD degree in contributing and building research. I don't have a traditional research degree, so you, me, we all can have a role in research. You have to be strategic with your partners, with the projects you endeavor, and having mentors. Yes, having mentors, I can't stress that enough. I've been lucky to have so many clinical and research mentors. You can see from my story that it all began in the clinic or classroom with practitioners just like you, not researchers, but discovering those relevant moments that contribute to delivering a better practice, as I did with Javier and many other students and clients. As our profession is slowly moving to the OTD degree as a common degree, we need to be contributors to knowledge, to growing our profession, to be keen observers and critics of our practice. These are the seeds for research. Your clinical experience, your observations, your knowledge as a practitioner is so key to the research process. Research needs you. This leads to a creatively expansive and satisfying career. Now, on a personal note, there are some pretty major perks to being creative and expanding your career. I've been invited to share and develop my clinical and research work in Dublin, Ireland, Stockholm, Sweden, Moscow, Russia, Bucharest, Romania, Seoul, Korea, Nanjing, China, and Tokyo, Japan. I've been invited to Tokyo 6 times before the pandemic, and I plan to return to Tokyo when we get to the other side of this pandemic. Here's the kicker. I didn't have to pay for any of these trips, yet I've seen the world. I've met disabled people from around the world, listening to their voice and their experiences, as well as countless of Americans across the country. So when the American Occupational Therapy Foundation asked me to join their board of trustees, it seemed like a natural evolution of my work and how I can return to the profession that has given me so much and enriched not just my professional life, but my personal life as well. My term on the board ended last year, but I continue to volunteer as the chair of the Development Council and a member of the STRIDE Committee, or Standing for Research, Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Committee. The development of the STRIDE Committee is a deeply important investment for me, as AOTF strives to find pathways for increasing diverse researchers, disabled researchers, researchers of color, and to foster research inquiries that impact underrepresented, underserved, and marginalized people and communities. AOTF relies on volunteer support and donations to continue its mission to advance the science of occupational therapy. AOTF is not just for researchers, but for practitioners and consumers, as you've heard from my stories. Developing strong evidence for occupational therapy and applying the evidence in everyday practice results in better outcomes for our clients and patients. We all have a stake in AOTF's success. This evidence and translation of practice helps our profession advocate for policies that support our services, support our patients and clients. I served on 2 presidential campaign policy development teams, writing policy briefs on the IDEA and disability education and the ADA and public accommodations. I recently gave a testimony to the current Secretary of Education. When I gave the public testimony to the Secretary in a virtual Zoom room, there were people from the public listening in. In the chat, these public members identified their affiliations and reasons why they were listening in. As I scrolled through the chat and read all the people's affiliations and reasons, I saw disabled advocates listening to my testimony. I saw teachers, special education teachers, speech and language pathologists, physical therapists, psychologists. Yes, that's it. Those were the people listening in and ensuring they had a place, a voice, or just an ear to the wall. What does that say about us? We need to support and advocate for our profession. We need to support AOTF. I need you to support AOTF. I can't go to Capitol Hill, the Secretary of Education, or to political campaigns advocating for policies without OT research, without your presence, without your support for AOTF. Thanks for listening to my PBS-style call to action and donations. $10, $25, $100 or more. If you are able, please give whatever you can. Every little bit helps AOTF continue to meet its mission to provide the evidence and science of occupational therapy so you can do your job and I can do my job and I can advocate for policies. Together, we can ensure this profession we love can serve to make our society and the people's lives we touch a more meaningful life. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. So as you heard, research is the primary thing that we do, but it is not the only thing we do. We also celebrate research excellence. We established the Academy of Research in 1983 to recognize individuals who've made exemplary and distinguished contributions towards the science of OT. There are overall 74 members who have been inducted into AOR. They represent some of the outstanding researchers that we have come to know, names like Jane Ayers, Grace Baranek, Carolyn Baum, Florence Clark, Winnie Dunn, Gary Kilhoffner, Mary Riley, Joan Rogers, and Elizabeth Yerxa. A full list can be found on our website. In addition to celebrating those who have long storied careers in OT research, our Board of Trustees a couple years ago created 2 awards to recognize younger researchers, the Mid-Career Research Excellence Award and the Early Career. The Early Career recognizes OT researchers who have made distinguished contributions between 1 and 6 years after their doctoral degree, and mid-career is from 6 to 15 years. These 3 groups of people are now invited to make presentations at AOTA conference, and I'll share that a little more with you in a minute. As you saw from earlier on, one of our goals is to build partnerships, because we understand and know that there are other organizations out there that have a research mission, that work with OTs or OT populations, or that understand the value OT evidence can bring to their own mission. This is a list of a few of our partners: AOTA and NBCOT, which I've talked about, occupationaltherapy.com, which helps with CEs, EBS and Anthem have been 2 outstanding healthcare companies that have supported our work and student scholarships. I mentioned the Michael J. Fox Foundation and the partnership we have with them on a joint research grant. And we recently did a joint webinar with Christopher Reeves Foundation, and we're hoping to do more with them as well. And OT Potential is one of the many OT bloggers that we work with that helps disseminate information about OT evidence to the practice community. AOTF also is an organization for OT students. We are the home for Pi Theta Epsilon, the honor society for OT, with 121 active chapters. We produce a quarterly newsletter for this group called Scroll and Pen, and that includes active members who are students, active members who are alumni, and lifetime members as well. We also hold something called the Summer Institute for Future OT Scientists, and that's a partnership with AOTA, where we bring OTs or OT students interested in careers and research to a one-day workshop where they get to talk to current researchers about what a career in research might entail: pursuing a PhD or an SED or DRPH, where you would apply for grant funding, what the different types of organizations that provide grant funding are, what it means to be tenure and tenure track as a faculty member. And we provide money for travel grants to the OT Summit. But the big thing that we do for students is provide scholarships. Each year, we provide over 50 scholarship awards to OT, OTA, and OTD students, because we know how important financial support can be for people pursuing their OT degree. We have also, in the last couple of years, developed some scholarships for doctoral students, one named after Gary Kilhoffner, one named after Bonita Kraft, and fellowships for OTs in postdoc positions. And again, we know that this support will be vitally important to bolstering the future OT workforce and building research capacity in our field. Scholarships do provide essential financial support, but it also raises the visibility of OT and demonstrates that our profession is investing in the future of the field. We know that fellowships will provide OTs an opportunity to pursue research careers and highlight areas of priority. As you saw with the Bonita Kraft Scholarship, we are specifically going to support doctoral students pursuing areas of mental health and serious mental illness. And with the 2 postdocs we have, we are looking at OTs either studying the human condition or looking at supporting researchers from racial and ethical groups that have been shown to be underrepresented in our field. We feel this is an excellent way to show the world that OT is clearly invested in the future of our field, in the diversity of our field, and in making sure it's as strong as possible and open for opportunity for anybody who wants to pursue this career. One of the other things that we're really excited about doing with students is called the St. Catherine's Challenge. This challenge was created in 2013 when students from St. Catherine's University wanted to do something that was philanthropic in nature, but would also support the evidence-based practice that they were learning about. With the creation of our intervention research grant program, it was a natural fit. And so in the first year, they invited about a dozen schools to participate in a fundraising challenge that would raise money to support one of these research grants. In that first year, they had about a dozen schools raise $18,000 for research. Now, over the last 8 years, this challenge has grown. And the last few years, we have had between 50 to 55 schools participate, and we've raised over $355,000 for new OT research. The 2022 challenge has just kicked off in September and will run through February 28th, 2022. And we find the schools that do the best each year are the ones that have the most alumni engagement. And being an alum of a school means your gift can have two impacts. First, it will help your alma mater win the challenge. And second, support OT research and building of new evidence. So one gift can have two impacts. Our goal this year is to raise $65,000 for OT research. So I encourage you, take a look on our website at the St. Catherine's Challenge, see if your school is participating, and make a gift. We have students doing different challenges throughout the next couple months on Giving Tuesday and end of the year giving, and certainly in January and February. And this is a great way, as I mentioned, to support your school. The top 3 fundraising schools are recognized with awards that we present at conference. And we also have awards for the best first-time participating school and an MVP award for the best producing school who exceeded last year's numbers. So we're always excited to have a new school take that top spot. And we know that alumni and the OT community are going to be key to making that happen for their school. Speaking of conference, AOTF has events at conference open to everybody. Our Breakfast with a Scholar event is one of our signature events we do each year, where we bring in a scholar who has a compelling story about their life that is connected to OT, but they themselves are not an OT. Past speakers include Jane Goodall, the noted primatologist, Suzanne Farrell, a legendary ballerina, Lisa Genova, a neuroscientist and author of the book Still Alice on Alzheimer's, artist Phil Hansen, and this last year, a man named Dr. B.J. Miller, a palliative care specialist and the former director of the San Francisco Zen Hospice Project. If you're attending AOTA conference, this is a great way to start your day with a breakfast and a compelling speaker. And we're excited that in 2022, we're going to have another compelling speaker in San Antonio. We follow the breakfast with our Research Excellence Award presentations. And as I mentioned, this is where our new inductees of the Academy of Research and our early and mid-career winners get a chance to present their body of work and the impact that their research is having on practice. And then we finish up with our State of the Science Symposium, our premier research showcase for the year, where we have a panel of OT researchers and their mentees talk about research on a particular topic. And we've added the mentee component to this because, again, we want to emphasize how important research mentorship is to building and bolstering research capacity in our field, and also a chance to take a look at how researchers are instructing their mentees, and their mentees themselves are building upon the research knowledge they have and the training they receive as they launch their own research careers. The past few years, we have showcased the following topics: chronic pain management, caregiver roles, functional cognition, and OT adversity and resilience. So again, we're excited about a compelling State of the Science Symposium in 2022. AOTF also offers a number of research resources for everyone. Our journal, OTJR, Occupation, Participation, and Health, is one of the best OT journals in the entire world. Over the last 5 years, we have risen our impact factor from 1 to 1.7. This is a quarterly journal that is now fully digital, and subscriptions can be purchased either through AOTF or through our publisher, which is Sage Publishing. We also have a free online newsletter that comes out monthly, contains information about new evidence and upcoming events, as well as information on continuing education. And our research resources is also connected to all of our social media, which is also a great place to see the researchers and evidence that we're highlighting, news and events, and opportunities for you to use in your own practice. As a 501c3 charitable, scientific, and educational organization, we are governed by a board of trustees consisting of members from the public and the profession. This is a list of our current boards, our executive committee made up of our chair, vice chair, treasurer, and secretary, and our trustees. In addition to the board, who is our leadership, we have a number of volunteer committees made up of dozens of volunteers, OTs and non-OTs alike, who are dedicated to helping our foundation fulfill our mission and who are really vital to making sure that the work gets done. Our audit, finance, and investment committees help make sure that our foundation is fiscally responsible and honest in our accounting practices. Our awards and scholarship committees select the winners of our awards and scholarships each year, which are also based on either research excellence or service to the foundation. Our Scientific Advisory Council helps build criteria for our research grant programs and also reviews the grant applications that come in each year. As you heard Roger mention, we have a new committee called STRIDE, standing for Research, Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity, which is going to help our foundation address priority needs to make sure that OT and OT research is diverse, equitable, and including people from underrepresented and underserved communities, as well as hoping to push opportunities for those members to be principal investigators of research themselves. Our Volunteer Development and Nomination Committee helps find new volunteers for our Board of Trustees. And the Development Council works with me on our fundraising activities and our overall fundraising mission. So if any of these sound of interest to you and you would like an opportunity to help the foundation, please contact me and we will find a good opportunity for you on one of these committees. Now, there are many ways to support our mission and the foundation. First and foremost, as you heard from Roger, we absolutely need philanthropic support to support our grant programs each year. Now, as I mentioned, the health services research and the implementation were created by a gift from NBCOT, but the IRG is fully funded each year through gifts from a large community of donors. These are OTs and non-OTs alike, partners we have in the St. Kate's Challenge. But each year we need to raise $250,000 to fund the 5 grants. And we've been very fortunate over the last 8 years that we've had our community step up and make this possible. So I would like to ask each of you to consider making a gift to the IRG program. The other important work that we do that's fully funded by philanthropic gifts are our scholarships. The student scholarships that happen each year are fully made possible by organizations and individuals who have either created endowment funds or who give each year to make sure that their scholarships can be awarded to students. An annual gift is always a great way to do it, either on Giving Tuesday, for end of the year giving, or anytime throughout the year that is convenient for you. Or I encourage you to become a monthly donor. Set up automatic and recurring gift on a credit card and make your gift throughout the year. We also do accept major gifts which have a transformative impact on the work that we do. And if you're interested in including AOTF in your bequest, your estate planning, you can contact me and we can set that up easily. We do sponsorships for our conference events. And as I mentioned, the St. Catherine's Challenge always needs alumni support to help your school and to help new OT research. So again, one gift, 2 important impacts. So I really appreciate you joining me for the presentation today and sharing with you the mission and the important work that AOTF is doing to build new evidence for our practice, to bolster the OT workforce, to help raise the visibility of OT and to strengthen our profession for the future. My email is here. I invite you to visit our website to learn more about the work that we're doing that I couldn't cover in the presentation and delve into some of the details, as well as see opportunities for you to get engaged. Please do follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, our LinkedIn group, our YouTube videos, and Instagram. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'm always happy to engage with you. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. Thank you so much.